One film kicks off the question, but two films solidifies my answer, and it's that Michael Bay should never direct a Transformers film again. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. This is the 7th film in the Transformers franchise. Jesus, are we actually on 7 of these films now? Bloody hell. The best way to split these 7 films up is through 2 categories. The first category is the Michael Bay verse, which is the first 5 films, all directed by Michael Bay. Most will say 1 is good, another is fine, and 3 are awful, but the thoughts on those films interchange depending on the person you ask. But genuinely, terrible. And then you've got the post-Bay verse, which is this film and the film that came before this, Bumblebee, which are effectively now reboots of the franchise, but more importantly, not directed by Michael Bay. And the key to talking about this one is to also talk about what made the Bayverse films not that great. The key traits that plagued those first 5 films I like to call Bayisms. Shitty human characters, shitty Autobot personalities, bad story writing, usually being some sort of MacGuffin that everyone's trying to chase in every film. And whilst there's some amazing looking CGI, there's lots of times where fights are just very hard to follow and it's not structured around the story at all. Those are the key Bayisms, and Bumblebee I found was a great break from a lot of that. And with this second film in the reboot, it's great to see that we're continuing to learn how to not add in these Bayisms and learning from those 5 Bayverse films on just how not to make a shitty Transformers film. Though some of the same mistakes are still being made. And the big one that still pisses me off so much is that we have yet another object we're trying to chase. This makes 6 out of 7 Transformers films all centered around a MacGuffin we're trying to find. How have we not learnt to steer away from this form of storytelling yet is beyond me. And the main beats of the story are also pretty weak. Fundamentally, and a really positive note for this film, is that the main characters don't suck. The core partnership between Noah, played by Anthony Ramos, and Mirage, voiced by Pete Davidson, is infinitely better than the partnership of Shia LaBeouf or Mark Wahlberg partnering up with Bumblebee. Our other main human is Elena, played by Dominique Fishback, and is also not annoying. Just refreshing to see. However, we're still facing the same problems of not knowing how to write in humans into Transformers conflict. About 70% of the time it felt like they were there just because we needed human actors. It just made no sense for them to be there. Their reason for joining the cause in the first place just felt so weak. Surprisingly, they made a choice in the final act of the film to make better use of the human actors, and the decision they made to take Noah's character in, I actually thought was a really good idea. There's some other human side characters, but you don't really care about them, but thankfully they're not in it for long. The other big win is that all the Transformers are designed really well, and they're very distinct from one another. It's easy to see them fighting and keep up with. None of the personalities were particularly annoying either. Arguably, if I had to choose one, it was probably going to be Optimus Prime. But when it was the main Transformers on screen duking it out against one another, that was when I was having the best time. It might not look as expensive as a Michael Bay Transformers film, but I think that's just testament to how good cinematography Michael Bay is as a director, despite what we may have to sacrifice to get there. Transforming did feel simplified to a degree, but I feel like that might have been a choice made so that we can keep up with what they're doing mid-fight. But the CGI was mostly on point and the fighting choreography was just so much better. There was a couple of times where the CGI was janky, but it was never too distracting, and the choice to have every Transformer be vastly different in shape and colour made it just that much easier to keep up with them when it was all going down. And the fighting was just really good. When not interrupted by human characters they sometimes didn't know what to do with. There's a lot of 90s hip-hop influence in here too, and the way they integrate that with the soundtrack but also with the fight scenes as well was just really awesome. Thematically, it does swing quite drastically from your 90s coolness vibes to the standard Transformers epicness, and it was very contrasting in both story and in fighting. When it was being fun, leaning into its hip-hop themes, that's when it was at its best. Like I said, the battle sequences, but also Mirage as a character too. Very loose, very funny, and just made for a great Transformer main character, instead of Bumblebee, who never talked. It was a great decision to move away from Bumblebee onto Mirage. But in tandem, when the movie tried to be serious, it just never really worked. Motivational speeches just felt corny, and you just wanted to skip it straight away so you could get back to the good stuff. So, shitty writing, still there. Shitty human characters, gone. Shitty Autobot personalities, gone for the most part too. Annoyingly enough though, the Autobots just suck at doing their thing, just really bad at doing their jobs, and they're just always getting their asses kicked. And maybe that's just testament to how good the villains were in this. Never over the top or cartoonish, and were just really entertaining to see when they just let loose in the battlefield. Oh yeah, the Maximals, the Beast Transformers. They were fine, they didn't really wow me that much, I could take them or leave them. But I think as a whole, the franchise is learning and beginning to step in the right direction. Whilst some of those Bayisms are still there, most of the bad ones are beginning to fade away. On the whole, I had a pretty good time with this. When it swings and hits, it really hits. And when it misses, it never misses as hard as it does in a Michael Bay film. And so if you're a fan of Transformers and was fed up with the Bayverse films and enjoyed Bumblebee, I think you'll have a really good time with this. Or if you just want to see some cool action scenes. But if you were never a Transformers fan, I still don't think this is going to do enough to convince you otherwise. So that's Rise of the Beasts. It's out now, so let me know if you're going to go see it, and if you have, what your thoughts are. Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, feel free to leave a like and subscribe and all that. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews on movies, anime and video games. Until next time guys, take care. Bye bye.